Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jamie Pittman. I'm the Program Director of Student Development in the Rawls Career Management Center. And I'd like to welcome you to the Decoding the Job Description webinar. If anybody is there watching, the chat feature is turned on. You must have a YouTube channel to be able to chat. I will try to watch the little chat box and see if anything comes up and try to answer any questions you might have. If not, feel free to, or if you're watching this back, we will post this on our YouTube channel under Rawls Career Management Center. So if you're watching this back on the YouTube channel, my email address is listed there, jamie.pittman@ttu.edu, if you have any questions after watching this webinar, if you're just watching at your convenience. So first of all, let's talk about what is a job description. Job descriptions are extremely important, and I think a lot of people just forget to pay attention to them because they're mostly focused on, the title of the position and what the position pays, and they forget that the job description is a lot of great information pertaining to the job, and also is actually full of clues as to what they may ask you in an interview. So if I have a student that comes to me for an interview prep appointment and they have a specific interview coming up, then I always ask them to bring the job description because I like to go over it in detail with students and help them see that there are ways that you can kind of try to figure out what they might be going to ask you in an interview. So let's talk about what is a job description. Well, typically the job description is going to be written by someone or a group of people in human resources or hiring managers that will come together to form the basis of the job specification. So it's a detailed description of the job. And you'll see some job descriptions are really short, and you may see some that are more detailed, but they're definitely something you want to pay attention to. They're intended to provide the applicants with an outline of the main duties and responsibilities of the role in which they're applying. So this is important for you to pay attention to because you may be thinking just based on the job title that the job is something that it's not. And after getting more details about the job, you may discover that it's not something that you're interested in, or the opposite, maybe it makes you even more interested in the job based on some of the main duties and responsibilities that you find written out in that job description. It should include the job title, duties, the purpose, responsibilities, scope, working conditions, and to whom the position reports to. Now, it may not have all of those details. It may not say who the position reports to. It may not have salary. Sometimes it does. But it should tell you where the position is located and whether or not it's a full-time or a part-time position, and then with the other descriptors, including responsibilities and duties and that type of thing. So it should help you when you're looking at job openings and you're trying to decide if it's something you want to apply for. It should help the applicant determine whether or not the role is in line with their current skill set and qualifications. I do want to say that if you feel like the job description is showing that it may have some qualifications or skills that are not in your skill set, then maybe just one or two things listed, then I would say go ahead and apply. Because you never know, maybe you can impress them with other ways or other skills that you have. And so I don't want people, when they're reading job descriptions, to look at it as black and white. I really want you to look at it as more of gray, because I'd rather you apply for something than not. So the structure of a job description may be different from each document that you see or job description listed. Things can be in different orders, but typically you'll see a title, location, who it reports to, the purpose, responsibilities, hopefully in detail there for you, essential functions, knowledge and skills, desirable qualifications, and required experience. So what I've done here is I have just taken an actual job description and screenshotted it and highlighted some things that I want to point out to you. And this is what I do with students is I really want you to review the job description 3 or 4 times, because By the time you've read over it that many times, you should be able to take a highlighter and highlight some things like I've done here that kind of stand out to you. And you really need to take the time when you are preparing for an interview, you really need to take the time to break these things down. That should help you to be able to develop some answers to interview questions, because if they are listing certain knowledge and skills on a job description, then that's a really big clue to you that a strong possibility they're going to ask you about your ability to do these things. So it's a way for you to prepare in a general sense for the interview by actually looking at the knowledge and skills required, and you thinking about your own experiences and coming up with your one or two top success stories in each of these areas, so that when they ask you this, you don't have to sit there and think about it. You're already ready. You have your STAR method answer, and if you don't know what STAR method is, then you need to watch. You need to come to or watch one of our interviewing workshops, and you need to have your STAR method answers ready to go. Okay, so let's kind of look at this and break down this job description and talk about a few of the areas that I've highlighted. So I hope you can see my mouse on here, just so I can actually point to some things. I hope that's working. I haven't tried that yet. So this one you can see here, Business Systems Analyst 2. Well, that tells you right there, since it's an Analyst 2 position, this is probably not an entry-level position job. Okay, so that's kind of a clue right there. If it was a Business Systems Analyst 1, it's more likely an entry-level job. Okay, so essential functions, these are pretty broad, but they're definitely important. It kind of gives you an idea of what you would be doing in the job. Many times the actual job is going to go much more deeper than what they're going to be listed here in essential functions, because they're not going to write a 5-page, 10-page document on for a job description. If it was that long, people wouldn't read it. So just know that if you're reading a job description and you're reading essential functions and there's only 4 or 5 things listed there, that's not going to fully encompass the job that you're going to be doing. It's mainly there to give you just an idea of what the pretty much the core structure of what your job would be doing. So this would be a good place for you to develop questions that you would want to ask in the interview, based to go a little bit deeper into what the job entails. Now, under knowledge and skills, you can see here that they have a long list of things that they start off with able to. Okay, so that tells you that they're wanting you to have the ability to be able to do the things listed here. If you already have, if you have that skill, okay, if you have that knowledge or that skill, then you need to be thinking about, okay, when I read through each one of these, I would want you to come up with an example from your experiences that relate to this knowledge or skill in the bullet point. Okay, now keep in mind, this can be paid work, but it doesn't always have to be paid work. It can be any experiences that you've had. If you can demonstrate your ability in this area, and it's a significant success story, then you would want to put those thoughts together and develop how you would answer an interview question around that. Okay, so in this one here, we've got able to assemble, analyze, and evaluate data. So really what this is you are taking each bullet point and you are reading it. Don't just skim over, read it word for word and really break that down and think about, okay, have you done this? Can you do this? If you haven't done some of these, if you don't have any examples of some of these on here, that's okay. You should still apply. But think about how you can speak to being interested in learning more about that. If you haven't ever done it and you don't have the skill set, then show some energy, show some excitement about the opportunity of learning something new, showing that you can be coachable and that you can learn a new skill and that you have the desire to learn a new skill. Okay. So if we go down a little bit, we have able to assess a situation, receive input from stakeholders. That's important. Okay. And on the next bullet point, I've underlined able to clearly communicate and articulate both written and verbally detailed. And then you can see a little bit lower, I've underlined excellent organizational skills and interpersonal skills and excellent problem solving skills. And the reason that I've underlined those is because those are some of the top transferable or soft skills that, according to research, we know employers are looking for. I have not read a job description yet that doesn't have those on there. It doesn't have the ability to communicate, or it does, it's saying it's asking for organization skills and problem solving skills. Almost every job description I've ever come across, it's listed there. So what that tells you is you need to have success stories in those areas. You need to be able to talk about yourself in an interview and display that you have those soft skills. If they're listed on the job description, then they're important enough for you to be able to mention. Okay. So my game plan would be, if I was applying for this job and I had an interview coming up, I would actually go down each one of these bullet points, read it in detail, and think of my best story that I could speak to regarding each one of these knowledge and skills. Okay. And if you read between the lines, which is what I've tried to do here by highlighting some areas for you, if you read between the lines, then you are able to see where those clues come in, and how you could really stand out in an interview by being able to speak to these knowledge and skills that they're looking for here. Okay. Um, Another common one I see is able to work in a dynamic, fast-paced, and often changing environment. It's a very common statement to be on a job description, and just an example would be being able to speak to experiences of when you've had to work quickly. Okay, also being um, open to change and open to learning new things. Okay, those are all great things to add in there. And then you can see they switch from saying able to excellent. Okay, so saying excellent drive and initiative, excellent organizational, excellent problem solving, excellent project management skills. Okay, so if they are highlighting that as you needing to have an excellence in those areas, then you can bet they're going to ask you about it. Okay. Again, most people don't look at job descriptions as clues. They just, most people don't even read the job description. They look for their highlights, the job title and the pay, and they move on. So that's why we like to bring this to the forefront and show you all that's there for you. Okay, so then this is the second part of this job description, and it goes into duties and responsibilities. So this helps you too. This helps you kind of get a better understanding of what this job could entail, some of the expectations that they may have for you, and you may not know how to do all of this stuff yet. Okay, so don't let that intimidate you. These are all things, most of this stuff can be trained. Okay, so keep that in mind. They're really just looking a lot of times for you to have a foundation in soft skills, and then maybe some experience in a few of these technical skills. But they're really looking for someone that they can mold into the person that they want for this position. Okay. Now, considering the fact that this is not an entry level position, they are going to be expecting that you would have somewhat more experience than someone who'd be coming into an entry level position. And if you go ahead and read underneath experience right here, then they've got 3+ years of experience as a business systems analyst or similar role. So that tells you right there that it's also another clue that this is not an entry level position. 2+ years of experience in technical writing, preparing documents, etc. So if you're applying for jobs right out of college, then it would probably be extremely difficult for you to get a job like this because it's not an entry level position, unless you had some pretty extensive experience or relative experience already in this area. I mean, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible. Possibly, an internship that gave you some experience, but internships are typically just for a few months and not years. So, you may want to make sure you have a pretty deep skill set to before you apply for a job like this. Now, here's the thing: nothing can stop you from applying. They may not interview you, but putting yourself out there with an application and a resume isn't going to hurt anything. So I recommend that students that are looking for their full-time jobs to go ahead and apply. Okay. Now, be prepared. If you're going to apply for a position like this, then you're probably going to get asked some questions in your interview to prove that you have this experience. And all you can do is just tell them what you have. Okay. You never know. They may love your winning personality and just be so excited about how well they see that you would fit in with the company and be willing to train you up. So, um, I never say don't apply. Now, if this was asked, if you're if you're first out of college and this is asking for 5+ years of experience, that would be stretching it a little bit. So I probably would, that would be, you'd really be putting yourself out there for that. But this one's close enough that I would say go for it and just, you never know what can happen. But looking for how many years of experience they're asking for, that is a big clue to you to know whether or not it's an entry level position. Also, if you keep reading in the experience, it's going to kind of let you know if there's any other specific experience that they're looking for. And for this one's looking, for TFS, which would be helpful, CRM, which is required. Now, if you, let's say you didn't have either one of those, would I say that definitely, counts you out? No, I wouldn't. I've even seen people apply for jobs and get interviews when they didn't even have the preferred degree. Okay, so don't let that stop you either, because sometimes employers will hire for skills and not necessarily what your specific degree is. Okay, so for instance, my degree is in human development and family studies, and my first job out of college was in social work. Okay, but then if I took a break for a few years to stay home with kids, but then when I went back, I went into banking and was actually in an accounting department for 9 years. So they hired me because basically, I mean, what it boiled down to was they liked me in the interview and they took a chance on me. And I actually ended up doing a good job for them in the accounting department and moved on to HR, to human resources, for 2 years. And now here I am doing student development, and kind of back to using my human development degree. So you never know what a company's willing to do. Some of it's more about you actually being a fit for the company and fitting into a position or the company than what your actual experience or credentials are. So, I say definitely look at a job description as black and white and take it and read into the details and break it down. But when it comes to the experience section, take that with a grain of salt. And I say, if you're extremely interested in a company for whatever reason, then get yourself an interview. Put yourself in front of those people and allow yourself some time to impress them. And they may be like, okay, so you're great. You don't quite have the experience we're looking for this business analyst 2 position, but we think you'd be great over here for this position. And I've seen that happen too. When I worked at HR in the bank, I saw that happen. I saw them bring people in for the interview and they didn't get the job they were interviewing for, but they put them in a different position because they fit there and they liked them. And or I've even seen them create positions for people based on the skill set that they brought to the table. So don't let the job description completely keep you from applying for jobs based on what you see there. Okay, so hopefully this is a little bit shorter than I'm used to doing, but I think that's okay. Sometimes we need short. Hopefully this has been informational to you. And if there's any way we can help you inside the Career Management Center, please get on your handshake and make an appointment, and we'd be glad to help you out. I've listed my email address for you again right there at the bottom of the screen in case you have a quick question. I didn't see anybody chatting during the webinar, but feel free to reach out to me, and we'd be glad to help you here in the Rawls Career Management Center.